Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Deaths, back with another Kamihime project video. This one is going to go into a bit of the materials you need in order to basically unlock the souls. Because when it comes to the S-Class souls, including the ones that they add eventually for 6th anniversary, which Global Sad doesn't have at the time of this video. But when it comes to any of those S-Class souls, you basically have to go through a huge process of getting all these different materials in order to not only unlock a specific weapon for that type of soul, but also just to unlock the soul in general. So the main thing about this video is just trying to cover all the materials that you need. It won't necessarily tell you what's the best farming methods for it, because unfortunately I don't know that, and it may change later on when they add more content, because there's still more storyline getting added. But you do want to at least be wary of what you're collecting. So that said, you definitely want to pay attention to this, because you're going to need to go through this process to unlock every single S-Class soul, and they are easily the best ones in the game. So that's something to know. But also, keep in mind that some of the info is also a little bit different depending on the time of this video. Like, if it's not 6th anniversary that's already passed, then you will need rank 100 to even consider doing all this. If it's past 6th anniversary, then you only need rank 90, as they've reduced the requirements by like 10 ranks. But generally, you will have to go through the whole collection process and have the same little item list unless they decide to change it. Now, starting off as stage 1, where it says like a data salvages, the names aren't all that important. Regardless of what S-Class soul you're going after, you will need 100,000 gems in order to complete this part. You do need gems in order to complete each step, including every time you repeat the 5th one, and I'll talk more about that when we get to it. But you do need 100,000 gems for like this step, regardless of what materials you're going after, because the materials are different based on the souls that you're going after. But the main thing is that gems aren't that hard to really come across. If you really are short, you can go into the gem cave and go get that. There's an easy farming method for gems off of that, but generally, if you're grinding everything else, you probably don't need gems anyway. They just tend to rack up on their own, especially if you're really grinding the crap out of events. If you're one of those people that overfarm the raid event to try and get like extra Idolin orbs and stuff, then you're definitely going to have a lot of gems on your account. So that said, gems, don't worry about it. But if you are short, there is a farming method. Now, this list right here is for the first 10 S-Class souls, and they're the ones that you unlock at rank 100 after the 6th anniversary rank 90. Because you won't be able to get the other ones until you get like higher ranked materials and whatnot. But the first 10, and I'm not going to really go off their names, but there's a guide on all the different souls too. But those 10 will need all of this stuff, and you will need 15 of, I call them the silver grimoires because the book itself is silver. Some people say gold because the background is gold, but they're the lowest rarity books, so you're going to need those. Those tend to drop from raids, especially the Oach raid, which you're going to be grinding quite a lot of. So that said, you can get like 15 of those from there. You can get them from events. I do remember Guild Order also dropping those as well, like as a reward. There's many places to get these books. Just save up 15 of them and you'll be able to do this. The green cores, they only come from the weekly events or the events, at least consistently, because the inconsistent method is a random raid drop from like specific raids. I think they're like Ragnarok or above or something like that. But those green cores do not drop consistently. You could still get some outside of the weekly event and the events, but you do want to hold on to 10 of them. In fact, I have that issue right now with trying to unlock a current soul on my global account. I'm short these green cores, so That's the method to go after them. As for the other remaining 7 items, each of these come from the storyline, or you can trade Nikkei medals for them. My suggestion is to go just do the storyline and grind it that way, because it's not too hard, it's just tedious. Storyline is the easiest content in the game, but basically you need like 20 of each. And the interesting part about this too is that when it comes to the other materials as well that you need for the remaining 5 S-Class souls, the ones that need like rank 140 to finish off, but the other 5 that get added after 6th anniversary, they need the other storyline materials that aren't getting used, so you'll probably rack up both just by grinding out the first ones. So keep that in mind that you're going to need both of them. So, and there's nothing really good to trade them on at this point in the game anyways, because you can get a lot of that stuff from easier methods. So this is really the only thing you're going to use these storyline materials for, if you're really trying to be efficient. So keep that in mind. But they also have a bit of a guide on trying to grind these storyline materials, and I'm just going to leave it here. Just keep in mind that each chapter doesn't necessarily mean each area, because each area just goes off of consecutive chapter numbers. Like Area 1 has chapters 1 through 5, Area 2 has chapters 6 through 10, and so on and so forth. These are some good grinding spots for all this type of stuff that you really want to look at it. Just pause the video right here. But me personally, I just know that you're going to have to go through all the different storyline things for all that stuff anyways, and then some later points also add some other grind spots for it, so there you go. And again, this may change later because they're still adding storyline, but again, these are basically just storyline mats on top of the cores. But the interesting thing is that the newer souls need less green cores, so that's something to know. Now then, stage 2 generally is the same regardless of what souls you're going after, so that's the interesting thing with this. You need these gold books, but it has a rainbow background, honestly. You need Eidolon orbs. This is why I suggest that you grind raid event for like extra drops, because it is one of the best Eidolon orb farming spots. Crystals you'll get from like the material caves, but if you're going into the higher difficulty Fang caves, they may not drop as often, so you may want to go into like lower ones like Ultimate and below in order to try and get these type of crystals. The Fangs, however, are one of the most tedious items to try and get, because you really do go through quite a lot of them. That's why they specifically made the material cave drop way more Fangs on the higher difficulties. If I remember correctly, you can get up to like 10 per run, but it's a guaranteed 5 at least. So that said, a lot of this comes from basically the material caves. Eidolon orbs, you basically sell off Eidolons that you don't need, or some specific raid events to give them outright. Grind those, get those Eidolon orbs from that. Just don't sell off any Eidolons that you do plan on keeping. And then the other books, again, they come from Och Raid a lot. You can trade, you can even trade Eidolon orbs for those books too, but I don't recommend it. But there's a few trades. You can get them from events. There's a different variety of methods for that one. Interestingly enough, if you're spending on the game, you can also get like a bunch of gold and silver books every single month. So you can flat out buy them if you want. But the Fangs are the most tedious part. And you will need 200,000 gems this time. So for those of you that are keeping track, you need a total of 300,000 gems at this point. Now, this stage 3, is dependent on the, it depends on who you go after, but one material that you will start seeing is definitely the Orichalcons. And those are going to take a minute in order to get if you're not grinding guild order, because you'll have to do some other trades or whatnot and do a whole bunch of raid grinding in order to try and get a decent supply of those. So you will need to start farming guild order at some point or another if you're really trying to get the best supply of these. Now, you also notice that there's a stronger version of the crystals from the material caves, the ones that drop the fangs and all that. These, again, if you're ever short, just go grind the ultimate versions of those caves. That's the best place to try and get those. These cores, though, they come from the raids, and it's only the lower tier raids as well. It's standard, expert, and I think ultimate can drop them, but you're better off with standard and expert. So that's the thing with that. But you still want to farm all your raids as much as possible anyway, not just the staple materials, but also like other things as well. So that said, you gotta farm all your the lower 3 tier raids at this point. You gotta farm a little bit more material cave. You gotta farm guild order. And the last thing, this is, I call it a rainbow book, even though it's not really rainbow, but this one comes from the Och raid, which is the Phantom Guardian. You will need more of this book, but you need at least one for this step. So keep that in mind. You also need 300,000 gems. However, that's only for the first 10 S-Class souls. The ones that get added after 6th anniversary basically take everything I said, but there's 2 changes. The cores are now the Magna Cavis, so you need to farm Ragnarok instead. So all those Ragnarok Catastrophe raids you're going to have to farm just for this 3rd step for those 5. And then there's the Och Plus book, which is a red book. And that you can't even access until you're rank 140 anyway. This is what I mean by rank 140 souls, because if you're trying to farm the materials instead of just buy them from like a gacha deal, you're not doing it until rank 140 for the 5 souls that get added after 6th anniversary. So that's one of the first Och Plus books that you get. The red one comes from Och Plus, the other one comes from Och. You have to do both of them essentially in order to get every single soul. But even if you're not going for the new 5 souls that get added, you will need the Cavis later on. So you're going to have to farm the Ragnarok eventually. Just a heads up. Now then, stage 4 is also different depending on the souls too. And also stage 3 you need 300,000 gems, so you need 600,000 by then. But stage 4 is also dependent on the souls you go after as well. And what's going on with this is the fact that you need to farm ultimate raids in order to get these regalia. And I'm currently in the process of that on the Japanese side. But you now need Dragonic Eyes, so you may actually want to debate on if you want to go after a soul with these, or if you want to do Awakenings. Or even maybe something different too. The 50 Dragonic Eye weapons that get Vigor are very good when used right. But generally this is where you have to really start considering where your eyes are going towards, because you definitely want to hold on to some of them at the very least. And then you need more of the Orichalcons, so again, more guild order. You need another one of those books depending on the Och raid, so there you go for that one. But if it's the newer 5 souls, then you're going to need the treasures from the Guardian raids instead of the regalia. So that said, you're going into harder raids for that type of stuff. And you do need 400,000 gems this time. So if you've been keeping track, you need 1,000,000 gems at this point. So that's the big thing about that. However, steps 1 through 4, you only have to do once per soul. Step 5 is where things get a little bit interesting, because step 5 is where you can generate the weapons. And if you want the soul weapon, you have to repeat step 5. So keep that in mind. So if you do something like get a weapon for Medea on fire element, for example, if you want it on water, you have to repeat step 5 for water. And it's the same case for the newer souls too. Like if you want Edison's weapon on thunder after you've already gotten it on light, then you need to do it for light and you need to do it for thunder. So again, you're going to have to repeat it multiple times. This is where the brunt of a lot of your materials are going to go towards, because this can really suck up a lot of your stuff. So be careful on that one. So, first and foremost, Stage 5 for the first 10 souls. If it is not 6th anniversary, the soul points needed is special soul points for 2 of those 10 souls. After 6th anniversary, they merge, so it's just the normal points, period, point blank. So that said, remember that, but you need 500 of those. Get them however you can if you're short. You tend to get a lot of them from ranking up. But if you really need more of those, then Epic Quest can get you that. Now, you need 3 of those Och books, Och Plus if it's the other 5 souls. So this is where you're going to start eating up a lot of books if you're repeating the step over and over again. So keep that in mind. Same case for Dragonic Eyes. Again, save up your eyes if you want to be safe on this one. You need more of those other 2 books as well, the silver and gold ones. You need more of those stars. Now, these last 3 are dependent on what you're going after. You do need the same Fang count, the same Canvas count, and the same treasure count, regardless of what element you're going after. But it determines what element it wants. If you want a fire weapon, you need to get all 3 of those for fire. If you want a water weapon, you need all 3 of those for water. So that's what it's going to determine. However, there's a catch to the first 10 souls as well. You need a corresponding A-rank soul weapon fully maxed out, as in level 125 and max limit break with skill level 20. You need it fully maxed out. You don't have to plus 99 it, thankfully, though. But you need that weapon fully maxed out in order to get the S-class weapon. So, for example, if you're unlocking Medea, you need Solomon's weapon, and you need to basically fully upgrade that Solomon weapon on top of getting the rest of these materials. When you use that sacrificial weapon, you have to make sure it's not equipped on any grids, and it's also unlocked. If you don't see it, that's probably why. If you still don't see it after doing all that, it doesn't meet the requirements to be used. Meaning you probably need more limit breaks, you probably need more skill levels, or you probably need more regular levels. Interestingly enough, once it's used as a material, it will reset back to skill level 1, and it will also become final break. But on top of that, if you had any plus level, like plus 13 or plus 15 or plus 18, it would not lose that. So if you happen to like max out a Solomon weapon and plus 99 it will become level 1 and all that stuff. But it will also be plus 99 when it turns into a Medea weapon. So that's how that works. You also need 500,000 gems. So you need 1.5 million at this point if you're just unlocking the soul. If you're trying to get more weapons, then it's another 500,000 each time you get a weapon. So that can really start adding up on the gem count. But the main thing about this is the fact that it is, once you unlock the soul, you can use them on whatever element, as long as they can equip a weapon to use. Because you don't want to do something stupid and have like a phantom soul on an element, because they won't get anything to really help out. But generally, if you're just trying to unlock the souls, you only have to do this step once. If you're trying to get more of their weapon, that's where you have to repeat it. So keep that in mind. Now, it's a little bit different for the newer souls, the 5 that get added after 6th anniversary. You need 3 of the Och Plus book instead. You still need the Fangs, but now you need the treasures from Guardian Plus. And you need the discs from Mali, or the malicious raids. So you are doing more than just the Och raids if you want to get this rank 140 stuff. You basically need to have access to every single raid in the game. But what makes the 5 new souls even more tricky is the fact that while they don't require any soul weapons to unlock, like you don't need to use any previous weapons, they do, however, need previous souls themselves to unlock. It won't consume those souls or anything like that, but you do need 2 specific souls to unlock one. So, that said, if you don't have the right 2 previous S-Class souls unlocked, you won't get the new one. And you won't be able to even start step 1. So, that's something to know. but they can still generate weapons. You basically pick whatever weapon you want to go after, and that's going to determine the elements that you need for the fangs, the Guardian Plus treasures, and the Mali disc. They call them Katenos code, some weird name, but it's a floppy disk. If anybody ever remembers what that is, but basically, this is going to be the most tedious step for anybody because of the fact that it's got the hardest raids that you have to go through. But it is well worth it because the 5 souls that get added are basically like S plus, if you want to be honest. You can't really call them double S because they're still tier 4 basically, but they're more like a tier 4.5. Like some of the previous S class can still hold their own, but these new additional 5 are practically in a league of their own. And it takes a lot for any of the old ones to try and keep up with that. Which some can, some just don't. But, again, you have to repeat this if you want more soul weapons for that. So, like I said, if you want, like, say, Edison, you would have to, basically get, like, 150 Water Fangs, 100, Ophiel Plus, treasures, and then 50, Water Malicious Disc, if you want to unlock her on water, or at least get her water weapon. But then if you want to try and get her weapon again on, say, Thunder, then you got to do those 3 for Thunder. But you're still going to need more of the other materials as well. And it's still the same cost of gems, like 500,000 for that. So basically, if you want a full comprehensive list of everything to keep track of, basically this is it right here. Like, I'll try to scroll so it's easier to see because the buttons don't do it that well. But basically, you can pause this right here and see that. This is a list for the first 10. And if you're going after Yuri or Paracelsus, it is special soul points until 6th anniversary. Once 6th anniversary hits, everybody uses the same soul points. So keep that in mind. So you need a previous heroic weapon from the respective A class. So if you want Yuri, you need to get Shingen. If you want Paracelsus, you need Morgan, and so on. But you basically need the weapon along with the rest of these materials to go through all 5 steps. If you're repeating step 5, then you got to go through that list again, but not the rest of it. And as for the 5 souls that actually get added at 6th anniversary, this is what they need. And it's a bit more relaxed on the fact that you don't need a weapon, but it's also a little bit harder because all the materials basically went up a few tiers for the most part. So that said, you will be doing harder raids in order to try to get these guys. But anyways, again, step 1 for the most part is mainly just farming storyline. Step 2, 3, and 4, you will have to do a mix of like guild order, cave farming, and raiding. So that's basically what you do for that one. Events are going to help you out a little bit on this stuff too to get some materials. But step 5, you're going to have to do a mix of all that stuff again, but have to repeat it for every single soul weapon you unlock. I cannot stress that enough. You will have to repeat it. And some souls are pretty dependent on their weapons. You can probably tell who's who on that one because a good example again is Medea. If you don't get her soul weapon that gives the elemental attack, she's not going to have an AoE nuke on her first skill, which she can use up to 5 times in one turn. So that's just an example. But some characters are not that dependent on their soul weapon. Honestly, you can use somebody like Romulus or Asclepius without their weapon. It helps them, but they're not dependent on it. And then some soul weapons honestly just suck. Like, if you ask me, Caspar, Hector, and Paracelsus don't really need their soul weapons at all. They're not all that great. Because some are RNG dependent, and others just are horrible in general. But, again, it's up to you on if you want to go chase their weapons or whatnot. A very good SSR weapon can replace the soul weapons in some situations, so it all depends. But, again, you need to repeat step 5 if you want to get more of those, and that's the most tedious part. which is always 500,000 gems and a mess of materials you probably could have avoided. But anyways, that's all for this. And again, there's other videos that I've already done on the souls, which kind of break down the souls themselves and what abilities they have and all that. So that said, go check those out. List of all the guides is going to be in the pinned comment, as per usual when I do these guide videos, because there's quite a lot of them, and there's a lot of watching, but this is important info to actually know what you're doing. And some of them may get pretty long, so you might not want to try and go through them in one session. My suggestion is that you don't, so you don't forget half the stuff that you probably heard me talking about. But anyways, that said, again, link in the description for well, not description, the pinned comment for basically trying to go through any of the guides that I've already done, and any that may get added as well. I try to keep them up to date, and I try to add more. But anyways, that's all for this. More will come soon, and take care.